What's up, guys? I'm Gabe Franco from San Diego, California, owner and driver of this drift missile. I build custom cars and trucks for a living. I believe cars got into my life early. My grandpa had classics growing up, and he always took me along with him to like car shows and drag races and stuff like that growing up. The local Big 3 car swap meet that I used to go pick around at when I was a kid. Stuff like that's always been a part of my life. Drifting actually came into my life later. I was always into off-road trucks and street bobbers and choppers and stuff like that. And then once I went for my first ride along, I kind of was sold on drifting after that. I was always getting in trouble and building things, honestly. Kind of grew up a little bit on the poorer side once my parents split, so BMX bikes were like the first choice I had to express myself in a sense, and it was close to motorcycles, so I was always getting different parts, trying to build those, customizing it, and then saying that's kind of how like beach cruisers with motors came about, and started to build little choppers and stuff like that in middle school, so always tinkering with something. Fabrication became something I was good at just, I believe, by trial and error. I built my truck as a learning curve back in 2018, and I'd never welded before. So learning how to do sheet metal, how to do roll cages, learning chassis design, suspension design, and doing it with bare minimum too, with tooling wise. Like I welded this whole thing with flux core wire, and it's kind of scary at sometimes thinking about it, but it's held up after all these years with abuse. And just pushing myself each day to learn more and more and trying to apply that to what I do every day has definitely been a big part of it. What made me choose the truck over a common drift chassis was, I believe, purely the main drive of everybody telling me it wouldn't work. I think that pushed me so much further to make it happen and be competitive versus how you could just go and buy this car and you know it's going to prove and work itself. It's going to be a little bit easier in a sense, you know. I've always been around fabricating. My buddies did it, and they were always building like pre-runners out of the Rangers, Tacomas, and stuff like that. Even my older buddies when I was at the skate park back in the day. For me, I was always wrenching full time. I was a mechanic through my high school years, after high school, and that's what I did. I only had one other job other than this. Actually, 2 jobs. I worked at a pizza shop. But yeah, so fabricating, I broke my neck and my back in 2017 on a motorcycle accident, and I was laying in bed rest, kind of just going crazy, watching people build things, and I kind of just was like, all right, when I get released to do something, I'm gonna focus my energy and time into actually learning how to weld and be able to create the things from my head. When I first got the truck, I would say it was pretty rough thinking about it now. At the time, I didn't know much about fabricating, so I thought it was a good deal. It had started framework already, had a cage in it at the time, some other stuff to make it look appealing and cool. Once I got it to my house at the time, I had some buddies that knew more about it than me come and look at it, and they're like, you know what, you're gonna have to redo this, you're gonna have to change this out, this has to go, and it was pretty rough, to say the least. I had to redo so much stuff, but it taught me a bunch, so I'm thankful for it, and to be honest, to this day, it's still changing. Before tracks, learning in the streets, that was one of those things that was a risky business thing, but it taught me a bunch about driving. Like when I made mistakes in the streets, you either make a mistake and you pay for it, or you learn how to adapt with what's in front of you in a sense. But yeah, the street drifting was a big part of my drifting career, I would say. That's where it started for me. Tracks weren't very available for us, especially during the pandemic that was going on. We couldn't go to the track. The closest one we have was Grange, Apple Valley. So driving from San Diego up there with no truck or trailer to tow it there, you'd have to drive your drift rig up there, beat on it all day and hope nothing breaks just to drive it 3 hours back home. So it wasn't as common as just going down to a local industrial area and burning some tires. Those days when we were filming in the streets, they're like a pinnacle, honestly. It was such a good time. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was so rare of an opportunity that we had. With the roads being empty, with the officers and police not really caring too much as long as you were respectful of where you were and cleaned up, and if something happened, you obviously pay for it. But it was so surreal at the time, I didn't realize it. Looking back at it now, it's like something I crave it. I wish I can go back and do it every day when I'm driving on the roads. You know, it's something real. There was nothing beats that feeling. At the time, it felt normal. Looking back at my old drifts and how I used to do it in the streets, it's scary to me. I knew I was in control, and I always made sure, like, before I did anything on the freeway or something too crazy, I made sure I had figure eights down, learning the weight transfer, and I knew I didn't want to spin out and have to be facing a car that could potentially have somebody in it that I didn't have filming for me. So yeah, it was definitely scary looking back on it now, and not the brightest choices, but at the time it felt normal. I knew I was comfortable with the truck at the time and knew what I was capable of doing. I'm going from street drifting to now doing events and shows and demos like that. It feels good. I actually like it, knowing that I'm not going to get in trouble at these events. I'm actually going out to show people what we could do and what drifting is about. It gives them an opportunity to learn it and see it for themselves and actually want to do it, because that's usually what happens once they go for a ride along. I do miss street drifting a lot. Every time I'm driving, or if I try to go for a normal cruise in my truck, there's always those times where it's like, all right, clutch click and see what happens here. So it's tough, but I enjoy being able to do more demos and driving track events. Why drifting? For me, personally, there's no better feeling than being in total chaos, but still being in control. Drifting is so chaotic at the same time, yet to me, it's relaxing. So being able to shut everything else down that's going around you and just being able to focus on the car that's in front of you or behind you or just your line in general is very calming to me. So drifting to me it's overtook my life completely. So over the years, having sponsors definitely is a huge help. It helps out a bunch, especially with just being able to do what I love and being able to continue to do it. Very fortunate that they trust me and support me in that way. Especially with like Claybourne always keeping me uplifted. QA1 always has me dial the suspension, even on my clients' cars. They're like, what are you guys working on? What do you need? How can we help? Anything new you guys want to test out? Look at this, it just got released at SEMA. So it's cool to work with companies like that that are actually wanting to see you grow and do what you love as well. The list can go on. Every company that I've worked with, I've genuinely supported them prior. So it's humbling to me now to get to work with them side by side and actually have their name on my truck and do cool things with them. I feel pretty honored and humbled that I'm considered to be part of the drift community, especially in SoCal. There's so many good drivers out here, and especially with drifting still being like a pretty new sport, still growing attention around the world. I'm humbled by it. I never thought this would ever come about, especially with me getting into drifting so early and learning. I'm honored by it, honestly, it's crazy. I think what keeps me putting time into this truck and drifting in general is just the pure passion I have for it. It's like riding a bike at the skate park back in the day, or skating with your buddies. It's you see your buddy do something and then you want to progress, and then he sees you progress, and then it's just keep chasing that. It's kind of like one of those things that it's overtook my life so much that I'm like, all right, what are my buddies doing right now? Like, damn, that was a sick line. All right, how can I come up and run that same line with him and push him to go a little bit harder as well? So it's one of those things that it's that next, like, all right, what's next? How can we go faster as well? It's like, it's always endless to me. I love it.